The Justice Department issuing new prosecution rules taking direct aim at Wall Street executives. And let's bring in securities lawyer Andrew Stoltmann for more. Andrew, I'm sure you're going to say, oh, this is too little too late, right?
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, and the timing of it is absolutely incredible. If this isn't the ultimate example of chutzpah, I don't know what is. The Department of Justice sat on dozens of investigations. They did absolutely nothing when Wall Street and brokerage firms engaged in some criminal conduct. And now they're saying after the statute of limitations has passed that, gee, we're going to start pursuing these guys? Well, it's too late now.
Yeah, it is, Carol.
This is political theater at its finest. And if we want to stop the fleecing of Americans and we want people to have some accountability, maybe the DOJ should focus on Washington and K Street instead of Wall Street. This sounds, again, just like political theater, a way to get more money to make their political point. And I really think that they are looking in the wrong direction at corporations at this point. They should be focusing on more government accountability.
Yeah, Kelly, and that's a big problem because when you impose these massive multi-billion-dollar fines, that's fine, but that's eventually paid by the shareholders until you start indicting the senior executives for very serious conduct. Remember, post-2008, we've had the LIBOR manipulation, the $5 trillion market that's been manipulated. We've had money laundering by banks for terrorists and drug cartels. I mean, if this isn't the sort of activity that gets an indictment, I don't know what is. And there's a perception that there's a dual class of justice. Justice for justice for guys on the street versus Wall Street executives. Until those sorts of indictments go through, there's going to be a big problem that our system simply isn't fair, and that's unfortunate.
Andrew, what do you think the catalyst was for this to happen, for this to be announced? Because, as you mentioned, the timing is so strange.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with Eric Holder finally leaving and going back to a defense firm that primarily defends brokerage firms and banks. And I also think it's a classic example of regulation by headline. I mean, they won a front page story in the New York Times and they got it. But in reality, this really doesn't do anything.
Carol?
Exactly. It doesn't do anything. It's political theater. It's more government as usual. And frankly, as I said, I think that they have a lot more to do within their own ranks than worrying about what's going on Wall Street.
Andrew, is there not something to be said, though, for trying to, again, I know a lot of this is like closing the barn door after the horse is left or whatever, but for trying to set up the right infrastructure to prevent or deal with or better go after these guys in the next crisis, the next events?
Well, yeah, possibly, and I guess that's a good development, but it's like if you haven't gone after these guys with some of the activity that's been engaged in the last 5 or 7 years, I don't know what it's going to take. And that's really unfortunate because right now it is just window dressing. It's a sort of a Kabuki Theater, and that's really unfortunate.
Do they have the manpower to do it?
I think they have the manpower. I think they just don't have the stomach. And I think a big problem that we continue to see is the revolving door between regulators and the Department of Justice going back to the same law firms and the same banks that these guys are supposed to prosecute. And it's just, it's really incestuous and it's really nasty.
Andrew, thank you. Andrew Stoltmann out of Chicago this afternoon.